am John Moore, and I am a shamanic practitioner and teacher. And today I'm going to talk to you about power animals. What is a power animal? Is it the same thing as a spirit animal? Is it the same thing as a totem animal? The answer to that is no. And so I want to go into this because there are frequently a lot of questions about this. People have some questions, have some misconceptions, and so I'm going to clear this up because power animals are something that shamans all over the world have had and have dealt with for as long as people have been alive, as long as we know, probably prehistorically. So let's get into it. A power animal, short definition of a power animal is the spirit of an animal that lived on Earth, or the soul of an animal that lived on Earth at some point, who has passed on, has died, crossed over to the other side, whatever we conceive that to be, and who has volunteered to work with us, human beings, or animals can have power animals, and businesses can have power animals, and but they have volunteered. They have given themselves over to service, usually for some purpose or for some length of time or something along those lines. So this is one category of what we in shamanism we call a helping spirit. There are lots of different types of helping spirits. Power animals are one of the main ones. And if you ever study shamanism, power animal retrieval, which is the ceremony that you do in order to get somebody's power animal and make that connection with them, is probably one of the first things you'll ever learn. Something I teach in intro classes, so it's we do right away because it's an important ceremony. Power animals, when you have a power animal retrieval, and I frequently do this for clients as part of healing, it restores power, can restore health, they provide protection. That's where the word power from power animal comes from. They empower you. And so that it's really all about an individual relationship with an individual spirit of an animal who has died. That's very different than the way most people use the word or the phrase spirit animal. And some people use them interchangeably, but I like to draw a distinction because I find that most people are using spirit animal in a way that does not match what a power animal is. So for me, a spirit animal is a type of animal rather than a specific animal spirit that we have a connection to. So an example from my own life is that I would say that crows are spirit animals for me. I identify with crows, I feed the crows, I read omens from seeing crows, what they're doing, different numbers of activities. They show up in my life when certain important things happen. They have pointed the way for me in my path many times. I do not have a crow power animal. I'm not going to tell you what my power animals are because in my tradition, we don't really talk about them except with other practitioners or people that we're teaching. And even then, not everybody knows all of my power animals because a practitioner, somebody who practices shamanism, or you might say a shaman, will have many power animals that they'll work with for different reasons, and might work with one for healing and one for protection and one for ancestral work, and there are different things, one for divination, who knows. So most shamanic practitioners I know have a little bit of a menagerie going of power animals, and again, it's about this specific individual relationship. So people very frequently say, I don't know, wolf is my spirit animal, because they identify with it. They identify with certain characteristics of wolf, or what they perceive to be characteristics of a wolf. And that's totally fine, but it's very different than the term power animal. That being said, there are a number of books and online resources that you can go to that will tell you the meaning of your power animal. That's a little bit in my opinion, not great. I advise my students not to go to those resources, and the reason is there isn't a meaning to your power animal. To the if you have a power animal that is an eagle, there isn't a specific meaning that you can look up in any book for that. It is, again, it's about an individual relationship. It's like saying, what is the meaning that my mother has dark hair? There isn't one. I have a relationship with my mother. I inherited my dark hair from her, and it happens to be some ancestral connection. But it doesn't mean that because my mother has dark hair, it passed on the power of earth to me, something along those lines. So I would avoid those things. I realize it's tempting to say, oh, if you get a power animal retrieval and you have a badger as your power animal, to look up what badger means. The other issue with this is that all of these books cannot cover every culture's meaning for specific animals. So even if you're using an animal as an omen, oh, I saw a coyote the other day. What is a coyote? Well, it depends on which culture you're talking about. Different Native American cultures, for example, will have different attributes for certain animals. So let's take crow, for example. In some cultures, crow is like a totem, and I'll get into totem in a second. And it is a very spiritual creature, and some cultures believe it carries the souls of the dead into the afterlife. Other cultures think that it is the returning spirit of an enemy coming to haunt them, and they're like, hate crows, and they're like, well, throw rocks at crows and stuff. So what culture is this taken from? And some, I don't pay attention much, but I've seen some books where like, well, this culture believe this, and this culture believe this, and this culture which one do you pick? So again, I think the trying to find a meaning to your power animal is going down a rat hole for a number of reasons, and it's not something I recommend at all. And I advise all of my students when they train with me not to do that. Just develop an individual relationship with your power animal, get to know it, find out what it's here to help you with, find out how you're to work with it, all of those things. So that leads me to totem animal. And again, this is something, the reason I'm talking about it is because people use totem, spirit animal, power animal interchangeably, but they really mean different things. So I talked about power animal, I talked about spirit animal, and now I'll talk about totem. So a totem is a very specific type of animal that is associated with a tribe or a family group or a clan. So in different indigenous cultures. So there are cultures all over the world that have, family mascots, not the quite right word for it, but there isn't a better, totem and mascot are kind of the words that are closest in English, but it doesn't convey the same meaning. So you might be part of such and such a tribe, but you might belong to the bear clan, and bear is, carries some meaning for that is particular to your culture, and you're either born into it or you're adopted into it. I know that certain Aboriginal cultures in Australia have totems. I'm sure totem is a word from I believe Algonquin, so they would use a different word for that, but they would be, we are the spider people, or we are the snake people, or what have you. So again, the totems are associated with very specific families, tribes, or clans, and you would inherit it by birth or being adopted in. So if that hasn't happened, you don't have a totem animal. I'm sorry to say. You might have a spirit animal, which is a type of animal that you identify with, and you definitely have power animals. If you don't know about them, you would go to a shamanic practitioner to have a power animal retrieval, which would make the spiritual connection for you. And in my experience, if you haven't had that done, your power animal is waiting. They're like, okay, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? They're excited to meet with you and get that connection going and start to build that relationship. So that being said, there are perhaps online guided meditations or that sort of thing to figure out what your power animal is, or something along those lines. I would avoid that in general. It's not. We will, if you meditate on something or you fantasize about something, your brain will fill in the blanks. But there's a process. There's a process that shamans have used for thousands of years to do power animal retrieval. And if it's something you're interested in, there's two ways to go about it. Basically, you can seek someone out who is a shamanic practitioner, who has training specifically in power animal retrieval. And that is most people who identify as shamanic practitioners. As I said, it's traditionally one of the very first ceremonies you learn to do. So you can do that. Or you can seek out training in shamanism and learn how to do power animal retrievals for yourself and others. Knowing how to do power animal retrievals for yourself and others does not make you a shaman or a shamanic practitioner. It is like saying, I know how to apply a bandage to a wound. That does not make me a doctor, because there's a whole lot more to learn and a whole lot of development that has to go on. So anyway, that's power animals. I hope this has been helpful. Remember to subscribe to my channel. There are going to be lots more like small lectures about individual topics like this. If you have found this interesting, please give it a like and subscribe. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon.